All right, guys, squares and rectangles. So we got three types of questions here, and we'll go through them. First one we sort of already have set up. So we got two squares. All right. One square ABCD has an area of 64. The other one, EFGH, has a perimeter. This is a P right here, if you can't read it. Perimeter of 48. Okay. So, and then the question is, what is the ratio of line AB to line EF? Okay, really, we could have picked any of them because all of the lines are the same, because on a square we have four equal sides, right? Okay, so if the area is 64, given that all four of these have to be the same, the only possibility is that all of these are 8, right? All these sides are 8. That's all it could be. 8 times 8 is 64. Has to be the same, can't be some other number. Okay, so that helps that out. And then we have this perimeter is 48. Okay, and again, all four sides have to be the same. So you just take 48 and divide it by 4. Right, that's 12. So 12 on each of these sides here. Yeah, all we really care about is EF, but just to make sure that it makes sense in your mind, how we come up with these answers. Okay, so we got 12 here, got 8 here. AB is 8, EF is 12. 8 to 12, right? Which probably won't be your final answer because we can reduce 8 to 12 by dividing each of them by 4 to 2 to 3, and that will be our answer. Okay, so that's how you do it. It might look complicated, or maybe it doesn't look complicated, I don't know. But if you do think it looks complicated at the beginning, it's really pretty simple, right? Just for all these squares and rectangle questions, area and perimeter is all we really got to know. So we don't have to memorize any new formulas like we do for parallelograms and trapezoids. Even though those aren't really all that bad either. Okay, next one. So this time we have a rectangle. Okay, and they're going to tell us the area is 128. This kind of question is pretty common. Perimeter is 48. And then they want to know what is the width of the shorter sides. Okay, so remembering that the two longer sides, right, this one, this one, like these are going to be the same, and the two shorter sides, this one, this one, are also going to be the same. Okay, so they want to know what are the two shorter sides. Okay, so perimeter, here's how we kind of think about this, right? There is like a math way to go about doing this, but like in some cases, even no matter what your math teacher told you in high school, there are times with multiple choice, which is what you're going to be looking at, where guess and check is better because we have the answer choices. Okay, we already have the answer choices all set up for us, right? And so if it's 48 for the perimeter, that means that this side and this side, let's say, or we could have picked the other ones, we just picked two. Like a short side plus a long side has to equal 24. Okay, that's just going to be the nature of it, of how it is. When we add them up, it's going to be, right, A plus B equals 24, right? And so then we just start seeing what number can we get to add up to 24 that multiply to 128. Okay, so maybe you start off and you're thinking, how about 12 and 12? Okay, so 12 and 12 works good to get us to 24. I'll have that be a multiply, right? But 12 times 12 equals 144, right? So we know that can't be it. And then you just start looking at your answer choices, right? And just plugging them in, right? And so you know with the answer choices, they need to add up to 24, they need to multiply to 128. Right? And you'll just go through different choices. Maybe you look at like, well, what about 13 and 11, 14 and 10, kind of going down the list. Eventually we get to 16 and 8. 16 plus 8 equals 24. 16 times 8 equals 128, right? So if we're to draw it back in here, this will be an 8, this will be an 8, this will be a 16, this will be a 16, right? You add those 4 up, you'll get 48. And if you multiply 16 times 8, you'll get 128, and that will be your answer. So that's really how you do that. It's really the guess and check method. Sometimes that's a bad idea. Sometimes it's good. In this case, I think it's a better idea than going ahead and doing the math. All right, we got one more here. That's our last question. Very similar, right? And so that means if I give you 2 examples that are very, very similar, it means this is the kind of question that shows up on the test. Okay, so rectangle has an area of 32. This is really just different numbers. Perimeter 24. This is easier though. Much more manageable number. Fewer possibilities. What is the longest side, right? So they're just saying, right, there will be a shorter side and a longer side, right? And so how long is this thing, right? And this one's going to be exactly the same. Okay. Okay. So the area is 32, the perimeter is 24. So that's going to mean like this thing over here plus this thing over here is going to equal 12, right? And then this over here is going to be the exact same numbers, will also equal 12. Okay, so what numbers can add to 12 but multiply to 32? Okay, so you're kind of going like factors of 32. Well, 32 times 1 is 32, but 32 plus 1 equals 33, so that can't be it. 16 and 2 would be the next, right? 16 plus 2 is 18, even though 16 times 2 is 32. That doesn't work. 8 and 4 would be the next one, and that ends up being right? Because 8 times 4 is 32. 8 plus 4 is 12. Right, so we would have an 8. Whoops, sorry. Bad teacher. That's a 4. This is an 8. 4, 8, right? You can kind of count them out if you want to. As you add those up, we get 24. Multiply 8 times 4, we get 32. And so they're asking for what is the longer side. And make sure you pay attention to what they're actually asking for, right? Because if they ask for the shorter side, then the answer would be 4. But they'll be asking for one of those two. There's your answer, and that's kind of what you're looking at on squares and rectangles. Just a lot of stuff with area and perimeter.